This week on Influence, sometimes making stuff up on the internet isn't all bad. Hello there, Worldwide Webkins. Welcome back to Influence with me, Matt Silverman. Thanks for hanging out for another week on this information superhighway. And I'm really excited about this week's episode because it's about the one of the main reasons why I personally got online, at least on social media, in the earliest days before I, was working in tech and social media and journalism and covering this sort of stuff. The reason I was so intrigued with these platforms and this culture is because I wanted to laugh. And before social media, if you wanted to laugh, you had to turn on the old television or the radio, maybe, or read a book. No thanks. And then I discovered that you could put jokes on places like twitter.com, RIP. And it was really, really fun to try to be funny and enjoy comedy and have inside jokes with a crew of people and even public figures and professional comedians who started to get on the internet, and that fascinated me to no end. And I was very privileged that I got to connect with and meet a lot of those folks to cover them. And this is adorable. But back in the early days, it was like, hey, you can put jokes on the internet. Like, what's that like? And I would interview comedians, and it was a fun time. These days, that landscape has shifted dramatically, and our relationship with social media and the internet has evolved for better or worse. But I'm thrilled to say that the jokes are still there, the funny is still there, the sketch, the improv is still there, and I would say we might be in an improv sketch renaissance, perhaps. We'll talk about that with my guest in a moment. I'm a voracious consumer of improv comedy in various forms online, and I'm really thrilled that it has brought me to and connected me with my guest today, who is a really gifted and hilarious improviser and sketch performer whose wacky characters have gone viral many times across Instagram and TikTok. I follow her on Instagram, and it's a fun time over there. But like, as a non-TikTok user, I had to hop over to TikTok, and like, she's popping on TikTok. Like, there's a lot going on TikTok. Have you guys heard of this TikTok? I think it's going to be big. This social media comedy fame has changed the trajectory of her life and career. We're going to talk about that in a minute. She's also an actor and a teacher, and I've gotten to know her a little bit in the past few weeks. And I'm just going to say she's an all-around cool person. I'm looking forward to getting to know her, and hopefully we're going to have a few laughs, which can be hard to come by in these last few weeks. But please welcome Karen Cassady to Influence. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
You're used to live audiences and applause. They're excited to meet you.
That was very warming, very welcoming, and I appreciate that applause.
Welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. I'm good. I'm okay. Been better, been worse, but
Yeah, I guess that's what we can say. We're doing okay. It's a nice, rainy, gloomy fall day, which is what, it's just sometimes you need days like that.
Yeah. You are hopefully, people know you're in Atlanta. Is that the Atlanta area, right? I'm not blowing up your spot, hopefully.
No, Metro Atlanta. So like just a few miles outside of the city. Yep. But yeah, really close to the city.
Yeah. And it has been ridiculously warm here in New York for many weeks, like disturbingly so. We've been wearing shorts in November, but then, and I have another, the co-host of my other show is in the Atlanta area, and I'm like, how's the weather? She's like, it never gets too cold. So hopefully it's pretty mild there.
Yeah, it's weird because you'll have like these spurts of, oh, it's fall, and then the next day is extremely humid and hot.
Yeah.
But today is one of those fall days, so I'm really trying to soak it up while it's here.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's the show, everyone. The weather chat is done,
That's it.
and see you next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Karen, tell the question I start off with most guests is, if you meet a normal person in your life at a coffee shop, family member or whatever, who is not extremely online or who may not be in the comedy space, how do you explain what you do for a living?
Well, I always start with I'm freelance.
Okay.
So then they're like, okay, that makes sense. Because I never know where to go. I'm like an actor, I'm a teacher, I'm an improviser. But yeah, I just say I'm a freelance actor, a comedian. And that's usually where I start. And then, but inside of that is so many tiny little like facets and like things that I do.
Right. But I think, so if you told a regular person I'm an actor, they'd be like, oh, okay. So
where have I
you work in
seen you? What
TV?
show?
Where have I seen you? What show?
On?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what do you say?
So I'm a comedian, I'm an improviser. And so normally I will lead in, have you ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyway? Always, like the classic question.
Yeah.
And then, oh yeah, I love that bald guy. What's his name? Colin Mockery. Yeah. That's always the thing. And then we'll say, oh yeah, he performs at Dad's Garage, or we do improv. But yeah, I just tell them that's pretty much what I do for a living.
Yeah. But we'll get into this. Like, Whose Line is that mainstream touch point? And it's so interesting to me that there is, well, you tell me, I can't think of another like mainstream touch point for improv comedy. I find most of it to be local theatrical or podcasts or, the D&D space now. But like, do people know what improv is? Because even SNL is not, if you don't dig in the weeds of like the background of those performers, then you don't understand that, right?
Right. No, I will say there's been some new shows coming out on Dropout TV, like Game Changer and stuff like that, which is very improv based. So it's very exciting for improvisers like us there's an actual, besides Whose Line Is It Anyway, there's an actual improv TV show now. But you're right. Besides that, there really isn't a medium besides on-stage comedy of improv. I know some movies, like I think some Judd Apatow movies, they might improvise some of their scenes.
Yeah, but it's not audiences
known.
don't perceive that or care about it necessarily.
Exactly.
They think it's funny, but
us as improvisers know that. But yeah, most people would be like, I didn't know it's scripted. Yeah.
What's the show and what network? What were you saying that it's on?
So I believe it's Dropout TV. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it's Dropout.
Okay,
it is.
A friend of mine was just talking about how great this is, and
it's so good.
For listeners, it is people from College Humor, which is now defunct or sort of. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think they have a new name, but it's basically all those actors carried over to this. And they used to have something, I think it was called Hi, My Name Is. And it's where they dress one of the improvisers up in a character and they have no idea what they're being dressed as. Yeah. And then they're put in front of a mirror and they have like 10 seconds to come up with a character. And then they're interviewed. And it is so good.
That's brilliant.
So I highly recommend watching that channel.
And it's a streaming app which you can get on your phone or your set-top box. I think my friend was like, it's $6 a month or something. It's whatever.
Yes.
It's another subscription, but it's strictly comedy and a lot of improv.
A lot of improv. Yes. It's I would say it would be worth subscribing for at least a month to check it out.
Yeah. I need to get in on that and check it out. Most of my improv consumption is through podcasts, which we may talk about it as we go. So then the second question I ask all my guests is, okay, do older members of your family, parents, grandparents, do they understand what you do for a living, like how you pay rent?
I don't know. I mean, my mom fully understands the supports because she's, in my really close family, like my aunt and uncle, my mom, and my brother, and all of them, they get it. And my husband's, like, his parents, they understand. But I will say, I feel like maybe some of the older generation are like, I know she acts and she gets paid for that, but they probably don't understand the extent of what I do.
Right.
Because I actually had someone the other day asking, so you do videos online? I'm like, yeah. So why don't you have a real job? I'm like,
whoa.
I was like, okay, so I didn't know how to go into that. but yeah, I'm like that is my job right now. So
It's a valid
yeah,
question.
it is. It's definitely a valid question because you're like, wait, you get paid to do online videos? That makes zero sense.
I wonder if people understand what ads are. They understand what YouTube ads are
And
and Instagram
yes.
ads or whatever. So
And I don't think they correlated it with that. I think they just thought like 30-second funny videos. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So before I want to hear about your origin story of how
Hmm.
you came to this work, but take us back to the before times. What was your real job before you encountered this internet fame and audience?
Yes. So to go back just a little bit, I graduated with a theater degree, but
Hmm.
of course, like most people that graduate with theater degree, I went into leasing consulting, like a desk job for 6 years. I was like, great, this is how I'm using my degree. But at the same time, I was training in improv at Dad's Garage
Yeah.
at nights. Um,
Can you explain what that is for listeners?
Improv?
No. Yes,
Leasing?
and Dad's Garage.
Oh, yes. So sorry. So Dad's Garage is an improv comedy theater in Atlanta, Georgia. And we do improv comedy 3 nights, 4 nights a week, and scripted works that the ensemble and people at the theater will write.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's been around since 95.
Which is wild. And
Crazy.
listeners will remember Matt Hobbs, who does Puppy
Yes.
Songs, who was a guest on this program.
Mhm.
That lovely gentleman, when I was like, "Where did you come from?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, where I do music at Dad's Garage." I'm like,
Yep.
"What's that?" And then, so here we
Oh,
are.
right. And
So,
that's how you found out about it.
yes,
Wow.
yes.
So cool.
Because I think people in the comedy space are like Second City, UCB. You know, I
Yep.
have friends who did UCB in New York.
Yep.
And we don't, and Chicago, the Chicago scene, and I did not know there was a scene in Atlanta, so I'm thrilled to
If
start
I
meeting
can
for those
sidetrack
folks.
for a second on that,
Please do.
it's funny because Dad's Garage is an incredible theater, and not talking about myself, but just the talent there is insane. And so our big goal is always like, we want to be the theater in the Southeast, just like the UCB and then
Yeah.
the Groundling. And so this was the first year that SNL came out to Dad's Garage to audition for their cast
Really?
members. Yeah.
That was my next question.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So that's what's so exciting is, okay, great. Dad's Garage is starting to be put on the map because when we went out there to audition in New York, people are like, where are you from? What part of New York? What
Uh-huh.
part of Chicago? So it's exciting to, let people know there is a whole pool of incredible comedians in Atlanta. And so hopefully it's getting out there more.
So this is the first year that producers have come down to scout talent. But has there been a performer that is rooted in Dad's Garage Atlanta that made their way some other way to SNL or sitcoms or something else?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Cause I know like managers and agents can send you out for SNL auditions and stuff
Okay,
like that. But
right.
as far as producers coming to do an actual showcase like they do at UCB and Groundlings, this is the first time I think that's ever happened.
Did Lauren come down and sit in the audience? No.
No, I think that the Lauren audition is the final audition in New York. Yeah. That would be crazy. That would be, yeah.
Great. Okay. So, so you went to school for theater and you were doing a desk job.
Mm-hmm.
So you said leasing. This is real estate, rental
apartments,
properties,
leasing
apartments.
apartments.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and then, but you're performing or you're dabbling in improv at Dad's
Mm-hmm.
during that time. And so
Mm-hmm.
what happens next?
So I started training at Dad's Garage. So that was pretty much my night job. I would do shows and I would do classes. And then eventually I got offered a show at Stone Mountain Park, which
Okay.
is a park here in Georgia. And, it's a small entertainment show. It wasn't much, but for me, I'm like, this is it. This is my moment. And I quit my day job.
Whoa.
I was like, what am I doing? But I was
How
like,
old? You're like fresh out of college here?
pretty much. I think I
Okay.
was, like 23, 22.
Yeah.
Probably like 23. But
Yeah.
yeah, and it did not pay at all. It was like a part-time job, but I was like, this is a sign. I need to go full-time into acting.
Love this.
And then I did that for a little bit, and then I ended up becoming a creative lead at the park and the entertainment department. And then eventually, after working there for a year and doing a lot of shows at Dad's and starting to get into the ensemble, I eventually became a full-time freelance improviser and actor in around 2017.
And the economics of theater
Mm-hmm.
is like, okay, you're a full-time freelancer, meaning you're working you're performing full-time hours, 40-ish hours a week,
Mm-hmm.
and your salary or whatever we want to call it is paid because butts are in the seats and
Mm-hmm.
tickets are being sold.
Mm-hmm.
That's the like equation of like these performers are amazing, they get butts in the seats, the shows are good, therefore everyone gets paid.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We get paid per show, but we won't have a show if we don't have an audience.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that is awesome, but it also feels very risky and
Oh yeah. And getting paid for a show is great, but it's not like we get paid tons.
Yeah.
It's just like gas money. It still helps, but we do corporate gigs and we teach improv classes and it's
okay.
Yeah, so it's a whole like slew of things with improv.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the theater would kind of farm a group out to do corporate stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then younger performers or whoever, I guess, would sign up for classes, and you would teach.
Exactly.
When did you get it? So you're getting into the teaching at that time as well?
Yeah, I would say. Actually, I think I started teaching around 2014.
Okay.
I started at DAS in 2010. And then I eventually got onto the ensemble in about 3 years later. And then I started teaching after that. So I've been teaching about 10 years now, which is crazy.
So from 2014-ish until 2020, which we'll talk about in a moment,
right?
You're like full-time, almost exclusively focused on performing, teaching, corporate gigs, but you're not necessarily doing a day job on the side. This is your whole life or what?
Right. I will say around that time, probably around about 2015, I started at a dinner theater called Agatha's Dinner Theater. Mm-hmm. It was the longest running dinner theater in Atlanta, and we'll get to 2020, but it ended up shutting down at that point. But that was also a huge part of my income. So it was Dad's Garage and this dinner theater.
But it's all performance.
It's all performing. Yeah. Yes.
You're not babysitting or walking dogs or anything.
Right.
Or you're not waiting tables.
Right.
Yeah. So this is your life, and it sounds like you're thriving and having the time of your life and paying the bills. Mm-hmm. And then a little something that I like to call the COVID-19 pandemic happens.
Yeah, that's interesting you call it that. I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's just kind of like my thing that it's just like a little nickname I give to it.
Yeah, you should coin that. That's good.
So what are, February, March, like what's happening? What are you seeing? What are you freaking out about?
We're in the middle of an Agatha's run. That was the biggest thing happening for me in that moment. And there was another cast because there's 4 of us, and the other cast was performing while all of that was happening. And they were like, this is crazy. We don't know what's going on. And then everyone was starting to, like, the audiences were starting to go down. And then all of a sudden we just get on the news, everything is shut down. And I, of course, had like a Christmas show lined up. I was directing a show at the park. I had all these things booked through the end of the year.
Yeah.
And everything was canceled in that moment.
Like literally your whole year is canceled. But at that time we were like, okay, it'll be 2 weeks.
That's it. Yes. I think you're right. I think in that moment we're like, oh, we have 2 weeks of vacation. This is awesome. Yeah. And we're just hanging out until we eventually find out, oh, this is bigger than what we think.
Right.
And that's when things started dwindling off the calendar. And I realized, a lot of us realized, especially for us at Dad's Garage, of, oh, wow, I put all my eggs in one basket. Or this is scary because now that we don't have this, who am I? What do I do? So I was sitting on the couch and I was like, I don't know what to do. It's
existential. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
And for so many of us, it was like, we did this in the office and then we will just go home and continue doing this in another way.
Exactly.
But for performers, it was like, what the fuck?
It was weird.
So how so what happens next? How long do you go? Are you like looking for remote jobs, office work? Like, are you trying to supplement, or what was your what was your initial response to this?
So, like, fortunately, my husband, who was a pastry chef at the time, he still was working, which the
Okay.
restaurant industry during COVID is a whole nother story.
Jeez, your whole
It,
household was just obliterated here.
it was crazy. So that's what he did full time, which was stressful in itself. So I just stayed at home because luckily our theater's incredible. We had an incredible managing director, Laura Smith, who helped us be able to get on unemployment because
Okay,
we were
right.
employees of Dad's Garage.
Yeah.
So that helped. But I think it was that moment of I have entertained my entire life and now I don't have a live audience to do anything in front of. And it was definitely that, what do I do? Who am I? And so Dad started doing videos on Twitch, which
Okay.
is the first time we've ever tried anything digital. And so we're like, well, let's just do our improv shows on Twitch. Definitely didn't translate the way you're doing a show and like no one's laughing. People are just like, LOL, LOL. It was so not the same.
Brutal.
Yeah.
And this was like people in Zoom windows doing improv. Like you it wasn't like you were getting together with improvisers in person with a camera, because that was not safe at the time, of course.
Yeah, it was like we do a show called Scandal, which is a long form improvised soap opera.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone just had their boxes and we were our characters. So then when it was a scene with two people, it would just be their split screens. And like a lot of times there was a delay and then it was.
Yeah, ugh.
But we did it so that we could stay sane and be like, this is why we do it. We got to keep going. We got to keep working. We got to keep creating. I will say the perk of that is we did teach online classes at that point.
Oh,
and
okay.
I had a student from India that had always wanted to see. It was so cool. So that was a really cool thing that came out of it.
How was the teaching rapport and the vibe of teaching improv remotely?
Online? Oh, it was so different. I mean, doing zip, zap, zop over Zoom, because there's that delay.
What is that? That's an improv game?
Very basic improv game. It's like the first one you teach of improv. Okay. But you're just passing to someone, and so everyone just waits, but it's supposed to be like quick. Yeah. It was challenging, but I will say I think people took it just so that, again, they could just stay sane. And I think just having the community is what they needed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So you have some unemployment, you have some connecting, you have some connection and community. So you're surviving.
Right. Surviving.
What are you seeing online? Because we're all home looking at screens and phones, just being like, what the fuck is everyone else doing? Mm-hmm. What are you seeing in the comedy community outside of your friends and colleagues?
Yeah, I wasn't seeing a lot, and only because I wasn't in that world yet.
Okay.
People had always talked to me about TikTok, like, oh, you should try it. And I was just like, I'm good with Facebook and Instagram. I don't want to.
Yeah, I was going to ask, were you a social media user? Were you a very online person before this?
Yes, but the personal way where it's like, oh, this is me, my family, but never, ever in a comedy realm. I think maybe I've done a few things, but it wasn't serious.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a very, very new thing for me to try it, because I was sitting on my couch one morning, just like didn't know what to do with my life. And I decided to download TikTok. I was like, fine, I'll give it a shot just to stay sane and to create. That's literally what I was doing.
100%.
And I just remember there was this Golden Girls viral remix that I forgot what his name is, but he's incredible. Okay. And he made it. And I was like, I'm just going to lip sync to this because I think it's funny. I'm not kidding. I was just like a slob with my pajamas.
We all were. Yes, of course.
And I did it because I thought it was funny, and I posted it, and it got received pretty well. And I was like, oh, I'm getting an audience again. Like people are getting joy out of this. This is fun. I'm getting joy out of it. They're laughing during this really weird, dark time. So then I just kept going, and I started creating a video every single day.
Oh, okay. So right away you were doing daily.
Yes, because it helped me have a routine. Because that's the only routine I had at that point.
Yeah. So many people have said that in this context about the pandemic and creativity. The thing I always worry about TikTok, I worry about TikTok in a lot of dimensions,
Yes.
but when you, especially in this time, it was like people would create, you do your first 2 TikToks, you'd be like, whoa, 1 million views, I'm famous. And all of a sudden, and that's the cocaine, that's the drug that
Right.
TikTok gives you. And then every subsequent video does not do nearly as big numbers.
Right.
So you're doing it daily and you're doing it to stay sane, but like, are you seeing like growth and loyalty, or is it just random scattershot TikTok nonsense?
So in the beginning, it was just I was just throwing stuff out there, stuff that I thought was funny.
Such as like what
Such
was the
as
early stuff?
lips. So the funny thing is, I didn't start talking in my videos for almost a
Ah,
year.
you were remixing other people's.
It was not really that, it was just having music in the background and like either having subtitles, or I'm a very physical actor. So it was just
Mhm.
like emotions or like very physical stuff.
Yeah.
I do this because I did a bug one where I pretend mosquitoes are on me. It's really weird. But I did that for a very long time.
Okay.
And yeah, I gained some audience from that, but it wasn't until I decided one day to start a rom-com spoof, because I love old movies, I love 80s, I love all that fun stuff. So
Mhm.
I was like, wouldn't it be fun if I did that? So I started building I just did one video. I was just like that one person at the meet cute during a rom-com,
Okay.
and people ate it up. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
this is fun.
Uh-huh.
So I kept that going. And one part turned into a like 42-part series. And that's where I started growing this audience of fans. And they started, oh, what's Mary up to today? I can't believe Susan did that. And then I had,
And
yeah.
you're playing, just for listeners, and I want to play clips
Oh,
of your work
yes.
in a moment, but you're playing multiple characters, just so we can
Yes.
clarify. Yeah.
Yes. So like I would play up to 4 or 5 characters in one video.
Hmm. Which YouTubers have been doing for decades, and
Yes.
I've been a huge fan of like YouTube comedy because in the earliest days it was all these jump cuts and quick like I'm this character, then I put on
Mhm.
a wig and I'm this character, and so you have taken that, but you've like amped it up to like hyperspeed
Yes.
in a TikTok format, which I
Right.
love. Yeah,
Yeah, because I love playing different characters. It's one of my favorite things, or just
and
doing
no one else is
characters.
around because it's COVID.
Exactly. So I can go all out. But yeah, I just created this storyline, and I built this really nice fan base with it. I got up to, this is not to drop numbers, just to show you an idea.
Yep.
I got up to about, I think about 50,000 based off of that realm that I was doing.
Okay.
And I had people sending me stuff from like Scotland and London and all these areas, these fans that fell in love with these characters I created. I was not expecting that.
Okay.
It brought me so much joy. It brought them joy. And then one day, I don't know if you want me to start getting into this part.
Please do.
Okay.
Well, so I want to. This is fascinating. Of like where you're starting to build real audience,
Yeah.
and then so it's the rom com thing. But then I want to hear where the sketches develop from there, like what they
Yeah.
turn into, and then I do want to play clips of some of your more modern work
Oh,
for
great.
listeners.
Yeah.
But please proceed.
Yeah, definitely. I did the rom-com series, but then my nighttime videos, I call them my nighttime videos, because after my husband would go to bed, I would start filming at 1 a.m. because I'm like, I don't have a set time to wake up.
Uh-huh.
So those were my more like random videos. But I did all those for a little bit. And then one day I decided to do a teacher, because I was like,
Yes.
oh, this is funny. Everyone relates to a teacher. This is what happens when a student is talking in the middle of class. And I did it, and I went to bed, and I woke up, and the next day I saw I had 500,000 views, which shook me to my core. I've never seen that number.
Mm-hmm.
And the alerts kept coming in over and over. And it was more of an anxiety. I had anxiety. I was excited, but I was like, I don't know what to do. I shut my phone off. I was like, I don't know how to handle this.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't respond quick enough to comments, and TikTok shut me down because they're like, you're responding too much.
Really?
Yeah, apparently in that time, I don't know if it is anymore, but because I was responding to every single comment within a short period of time, they stopped me. They were like,
They
this
thought
is
it was
too
like
much.
spam or
Yes,
something?
yes.
Weird.
Because I always responded to fans and followers, but it was so many comments. I had to stop. I couldn't do it. That's just to show you how many people it ended up reaching. So
when I first discovered your work, I made an assumption that maybe others do too, that you were a full-time teacher, like a high school teacher, and you were riffing on and then you were making fun of your of other teachers or your life or something. But you have no experience as a classroom teacher. That's not your path.
Exactly. And it's so funny because almost every time I tell people I'm not a teacher, they're shocked. And my mom was a teacher for almost 20 years. So a lot of the normal teacher character I started with, a lot of her mannerisms come from my mom.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's what I was wondering. Is where's the touch point? We all remember growing up and being a student and having cool teachers and strict teachers, but clearly you have tapped into this super relatable, and young everyone, but I think a lot of young people, I presume, who are on TikTok are like, oh my God, that's totally my teacher. This is so funny. Share, send to friends. Right? Is that what's happening?
100%. Yeah. Okay. I think especially the first several that I did, it was just like when you're talking during class or when someone's running late or if you have to go to the bathroom. It's just the little things like that. I would get teachers from all over the world messaging me saying, it's so funny that I'm on the opposite side of the world and I still do the exact same thing as a teacher. And so
that's great.
That's what was so cool, is that it was bringing all of these people together in the comments, and there was there weren't debates. People weren't negative. They were just all agreeing and talking about their stories. And I loved it. It was beautiful.
That is truly beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so for audio listeners and video watchers, I'm going to play the clips. I hope that you have a moment, dear listeners, to hop over to the video version and or follow Karen. Her socials will, of course, be in the description, because you just have to see these performances. You have to see them and hear them because, as Karen said, she's so physical. But here's a smorgasbord of Karen's work.
My name's Mrs. Bradenton. Oh, come on, guys. Call and respond. It's going to be the best year of your life. You know why? Because you got me. Few rules for my class. Number 1, I don't do rules. Number 2, have fun. I do have one rule. If you're late to class, you got to wear the ice cream hat. Uh-oh.
What is going on in here? Where's your teacher?
She left. We don't know.
What?
She just left them. Is she gone?
Yeah, they're by themselves. They're partying. What should you be doing right now?
I don't know.
We can hear you all the way down this hallway. In the teacher's lounge, we can hear everything that you're saying. I'm trying to eat my lunch right now. And I can't because you're too loud. Do you think we're the only ones out here? Whoa! There's a cult here. I don't know what that means, but I don't like it. You hear that? What do you think's in those woods? Very ominous. Something happened here a long time ago. I can feel it. It's not right. I think the coast is clear. These woods are crazy.
If I call your name, you'll be in Mrs. Miller's car today.
Hey, guys. Hey, girl.
Hey, I can take 8 kids. I made Ralph give me the SUV today. Okay, you all ready? We're gonna do a quick detour at Starbucks. My car's gonna be playing Olivia Rodrigo. Chelsea, come with me, girl. She won't care.
When you were doing the Twitch stuff, it was like a live virtual audience that is liking it and they're LOLing in the chat, but it's so vacant, right? It's so hard.
Yes.
But this is different. I mean, we've had televised comedy and sketch comedy for 1,000 years. So it's a different modality, I guess. It's you're making this for an audience to consume later. You're not seeking the instant live approval. So what is your process, and what is it scripted? Is it off the cuff? Are you editing it together later? How do you develop these little, because they are sketches. I would call them sketches.
Yes. I do not write stuff down.
Really?
I don't. The only time I ever wrote anything down was when I was doing the rom-com or the series stuff.
Okay.
Because I would time it out perfectly to the music, so I needed to know what to say. But other than that, all of my character stuff, all my teacher stuff is just, I have this idea. I'm just going to film it and go.
Okay.
And then I would just kind of cut down from there what I wanted to keep and what I wanted to take out.
Yeah. So when you have characters talking to each other, you've got wig. First of all, your collection of mom wigs is just award-winning.
I
Truly.
appreciate that. I have so many wigs I don't know what to do with.
And are you like buying a bunch from Amazon for the TikTok, or do you just have like a trunk full from Improv?
Oh, yeah, a trunk full from the dinner theater that I worked at. Like Dad's Garage helps me out. Like our costume person at Dad's was really helpful in helping me. Like the main teacher wig is from Dad's Garage. But friends will just give me wigs now. Oh, I have wigs. I have boxes of wigs I don't know what to do with. And like so many characters that are waiting to be seen. But that's something else I would do online is I would put a wig on and then ask my followers, who is this person? And then I would make little short videos of like whatever they said. And then if one stuck, I would create a video out of
This
that.
is the audience shouting out like, you're at Burger King with a Yeti, and then you do the scene, right? That's
Yes.
like the audience participation, the randomness of
Yes.
that. That's
Yes.
really cool. Okay, so you're saying you're not writing, you're not scripting the dialogue between these two characters. So you start and you have wig one, and you say X. Then do you like immediately take the wig off and respond to that character, or are you shooting person A first and then you shoot person B?
So in the beginning, when I was still learning how it all worked, I would do it in the sequence it's supposed to be, like the order. So it took, I'm not kidding, 6 to 7 hours a day. It was my full-time job.
I believe it. I fully believe that.
So it was just like this character, now this character responds, now put my makeup on and do this character. And then I realized, I can film all the dialogue of this character and then this one and then splice it all together.
Right.
So that's what I do now is I have it written in my head, but I don't write it out. Yeah.
You have it storyboarded in your head.
Exactly.
And then you're executing it in real time. How do you remember what character A said? Are you just looking back at the videos and then responding to that character?
Yeah. Usually I'll remember it, but there have been several times where I'll look at everything I recorded and I'm like, I don't have a response to this. This character didn't respond to that.
Yeah.
And then I'll have to quickly put that character back on and just have that one reaction.
Right.
And then I'll glue it back in. So
having done some of this type of video work in my career, it's like having a hole that you can't go back and fix is the most terrifying thing.
It's the worst.
Not that your work is easier or something, but like it's you and a phone. So like if you absolutely had to change your makeup and go back, but like when you're on a set, it's like, oh shit, we forgot this character forgot to say something.
Yes.
Fuck, whatever.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll try and splice it together without it, but it's so obvious that it's missing a reaction. It's like, that looked a little weird.
So how do you edit? And did you know how to do video editing before this stuff?
No, I think I started with the iMovie.
Yeah.
The one, which is like, I don't know. I started with that, but then I did.
That's all you need. That's all you need. You just need a program that can do nonlinear, and you don't need fancy software. You
really don't. I eventually got onto CapCut, which is nice.
Right. Everyone uses CapCut now, and I don't really know what it is or how it works. But
it's like
is it all mobile?
App. It's all mobile. No, it's definitely can be on your desktop too. I tried it on my desktop, but people can't believe that I'm still editing my videos on my phone. It's just so much easier for me.
But there is an authenticity and I don't know how to say this. Like the reason YouTube and TikTok are historically fun is because shit looks janky.
Yes.
It looks comedically like low budget, and that's what makes it funny. And so you're doing this in CapCut now on your phone.
Right. I'm doing CapCut now, and that's when I started learning, I can edit to where I can hear this person's dialogue over this other person's video.
Yes.
And that's when I started, and the other day, this is how behind I am. I'm like, I can put two of me in the same shot, but I haven't tried that yet. Yeah, but there's so much I can do, but you're right. There is a point where I'm like, how professional do I want to make this? Because you see so many videos that people post online, and as soon as it's edited and produced, and it doesn't do well. But then you have someone shoot something in their bathroom, and it goes viral. It's so funny.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that leads me to another question. What is some videos you've labored on for 6-7 hours, and as you're making it, you're like, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever made. It's going to be amazing. And then you publish it and it's like, whap, whap, 7 views. And then the other thing you did, which you shit out in the closet for 10 seconds, is like 10 million views. So like, what are your favorites versus your most popular split here?
I would say my favorite would probably be the series, the rom-com.
Yeah.
Because I love playing several different characters in one shot or in one video. Those are definitely my favorites.
But not the most popular, because the teacher stuff was the one that skyrocketed.
Right. The ones that are usually really short and relatable. Yeah. Short and relatable is what people need. And I'm talking like 15 seconds top.
Right.
So, and those are the ones that, because I've done that. You're right. I'll have a day where I work really, really hard on something for 3 hours. I post it, it's not doing well. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to repost one of my old teacher videos. Boom. I'm like, of course. Of course.
And the engagement is so amazing because, again, I see a lot of short form content and TikTok content, and it's so algorithmic. So I just like, wow, this has 10 million views. And it's just people going like, heh. And they move on to the next thing.
Right.
But on yours, people are just like descending into the comments and saying, oh my God, this is me. Oh my God, this is my teacher. Oh my God, so relatable. Like they're really, really in there, which is so wonderful to see.
Yeah. Especially in the beginning with my simple teacher videos, it was just a slew of comments of saying how we're just tagging friends of this is our teacher, this is my mom. And, you know, I love that. That's all I want to see is just people being able to relate to the content.
What is there a single comment or a type of comment or message you've gotten from a viewer, fan, subscriber that sticks with you? That is like, oh yeah, this is the reason I'm here.
Yeah, there's been several that have really touched me, but there's one in particular because and it's funny me saying this, being in the world of comedy, it doesn't make sense. I always want to be careful to not cross the line of making fun of someone, even though that's all comedy is, a satire.
Right. Sure.
But I just want to be careful to not poke fun to the point where it can isolate somebody or alienate them. So someone made a comment once of, you play the characters in such a genuine way to where it never seems like you're making fun of them. Okay. And hearing that, I don't know, it just like, it really, really meant the world to me.
That's very nuanced.
Isn't it? I know there's so many videos where people will exaggerate and it seems like that's just what comedy is. But for some reason, I can't get that out of my head. I don't know why.
I love that. And it reminds me of something another colleague said who is in the acting comedy space, who was like, you should never punch down. You should always punch up.
Yes. Which
is like speaking truth to power. You can make fun of the president, but you shouldn't make fun of like, you know, a mentally ill person like that, you know, but I don't know if that maps 1-to-1 with what you're saying of like, you are making fun of teachers, but what is it about the character that is still loving and relatable? I can't quite get my finger on it.
I think I try to play the character not in a, well, you better sit down. I try to play it in a sit down. So it's a very like, this is actually how a teacher is. And that's why
it's very earnest.
Yes.
She's just trying to do her damn job.
That's literally it. And that's how I want to play the videos is this is me. This is how I see my teacher. And so it's funny because you see that stuff every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of my personal favorites is the teacher trying to do a lesson during construction.
Oh that was real. We went to film at Dad's garage that day and we didn't realize that's when they were working on the stage. Every time I started the video, I was like, okay. So my friend's
thought
like,
you had someone in the background like knocking boxes over for the sound effects. That was really
my friend started doing that just to exaggerate it because we're like, we might as well play this up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very real.
Thank you for being Brian. Absolutely not. Give me that. Tracy. Could you take this away? The dust falling from the ceiling, it's not asbestos. This will all be dictated and written out. This will all be dictated. Algebra. The dust falling on your desk does not mean you need to blow it on your partner next to you. Does not mean you need to blow it on... Continue our lesson. Nothing's gonna stop us from happens when they renovate. So, Tracy, if you could please figure out a way to somehow, to get the lights, okay, this is what life is. We're gonna keep it fine. Okay. Again with the light, Tracy, okay, let's just do it really quick. All right, last week we talked about what?
I want to talk more about, what your life is like now as a creator, now that you have come into this world of performance and fame. But first, it's time for the trivia. We have to do it every week.
No. Okay.
It is my job to stump every guest.
I'm gonna be stumped.
With a multiple choice trivia question. How are you feeling? Are you prepared?
Not at all. I'm so bad at trivia games.
I try to set the stakes. I didn't write anything down. If you get this trivia question correct, I will fly down and buy out the audience of the next Dad's Garage show.
Okay.
I'll buy the whole theater and fill it with all your friends and all that.
Wow.
If you get it wrong,
oh no,
you have to attend all of my meetings, my business meetings for the next month. And you have to dress up as me, you have to look like me and pretend to be me, but a stupid version, an exaggerated version. Those are the stakes.
Is there free food at the meeting? Is there some incentive?
It's all virtual, so you can just get a snack and bring it to the meeting. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds miserable.
Here is your question. This week's episode is about making people laugh on the internet, and something that we all need more than ever, I would say. This week's trivia is about making King Henry II of England laugh back in the 12th century. You remember that time, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
King Henry II reigned for 56 years. Lots of wars, lots of medieval politics. And some drama with France, as per usual. Apparently a big revolt in Scotland. They were not fans of his. But to keep himself entertained during his kingly duties, he had a court jester named Roland with a particular set of skills. Roland was so good at his job that he was given a manor in Suffolk and 30 acres of land. What was so special about Roland, the court jester, in the 12th century in England? I have three choices. Are you prepared?
Okay, yeah, let's listen to him.
A, Roland was a professional flatulist who was commissioned to fart on command at Christmas time, much to the delight of the court. That's choice A.
Okay.
Just listeners know, but one of these is true. The other two I made up from the old noggin, okay?
Okay, got it.
Or was it B, he was convinced he was a bird and would appear in court wearing chicken feathers from nearby farms and never broke character? Historians are divided on whether it was performance art or mental illness. That is choice B.
Okay.
Or is it C? His performances included eating human bones, often from the king's political and military enemies, as a way for the court to laugh in the face of its adversaries. That is choice C. Which of these is true about Roland, the court jester?
Oh my gosh. Wait, so I just want to make sure the first one specifically only farted at Christmas time?
Correct.
I'm going to go with C.
Okay. That he would eat the bones of King Henry's rivals.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Any rationale, any reasoning here?
Because I don't know, that just seems like something that would have happened during that time period. They would eat old bones. I mean, the bird thing seems kind of real too, but I don't know. The bone was what stood out to me. Isn't
it? Last week I had a wonderful woman on who advocates for patients, medical cancer patients, and we did trivia about just fucked up medical practices, and it's just that injecting milk into people, that is something that we would do in the 19th century. It's just you're just that's plausible. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
eating human bones. We will find out if Karen got it correct after this important break. It's time to thank the very generous supporters of this very program over at patreon.com/influencepod. Thank you to everyone who contributes financially and otherwise, liking, subscribing, and following the Patreon as a weekly email update. For free, mind you. If you want to contribute, there's perks and other goodies there, and it helps the show keep going. And I would especially like to thank the executive producers who contribute $10 or more every month to the program, and they are William, Dominic Kerr, Duran, and of course, Bowie Barks. Woof woof. Thanks to everyone who supports the show and keeps this operation afloat, and who allows me to talk to just like the coolest frickin' people on the internet, like my guest today. Let's see if Karen got the trivia answer correct. There's a lot at stake. We're back here with Karen Cassady, improviser, actor, teacher, and I'm just going to say it, social media comedy superstar.
Wow.
Did she get this trivia question right? We asked Roland the Jester in 12th century England. Henry II was such a fan of his work. Unfortunately, Roland did not have a TikTok, but he did please the king so much that he got 30 acres of land and a manor for making the king laugh, and apparently his wider court. Was that because A, he was a professional farter and would fart at Christmas time on command? B, he was convinced he was a bird and would stick chicken feathers and act like a bird, and we're not sure if that was Andy Kaufman level commitment, or if it was something else going on. Or is it C, this is the one that Karen chose, that he would eat human bones, the bones of the king's rivals. After the break, I always give guests a chance to change their answer, reconsider if you've had other machinations during the pause. Where are you? What are you thinking?
I might regret this, but I feel like farts are always funny.
Whoa, is she going to change?
Because eating bones is fun, but it's like, is that really hilarious? Or is it more like, yes, keep eating them? And
yeah, exactly. Like, there's comedy that's like, we're so angry that we just want to like be like angry funny at something.
Right.
Versus like, let's just fart around and...
Yeah, and then the bird one is like, that could totally also make sense because I'm sure mental illness was not even like thought of back then.
And then you're laughing at him, you're not laughing with him.
So that's why I feel bad choosing that one. So, you know what? I'm going to go with the one that seems like it's made up, only because I feel like no matter what century you're in, farts are funny.
This is... Since the reboot of the show, I think you might be the first guest who has changed their answer after the break. This is unprecedented, I think. I'm sorry, listeners, if you remember a previous time, but this is big.
Okay.
She's locking in choice A. And here is the correct answer. Roland the Farter was a medieval flatulist who was obliged to perform saltum sifflatum petum, which translates, I guess, from Latin to jump, whistle, and fart, which were done all at once for the king's court at Christmas. Which is why my car proudly displays the bumper sticker, keep farts in Christmas.
Oh my gosh, I was right.
She went with her gut. She knew it in her soul that farting was still funny back in the 12th century.
Honestly, if I saw someone jump, fart, and whistle at the same time, I would probably be dying laughing.
Yeah. When I first researched this, I was like, oh, a flautist. Like a jester who plays the flute. I'm like, okay, what? Oh, wait a minute. I see what this is.
Fartist.
A flatulist.
Wow, that's such a scientific term. That's so funny.
And if you go to his Wikipedia page, he is known in whatever historical records as Roland the Farter. That is his title.
What?
That's his job. His nom de plume or whatever.
That is I gotta look this person up. That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow.
All right. So I'll book the tickets and I'll be down to Dad's for a show. So you're having this success and the audience is there. So when do you start figuring out this could be a living, this could be a business, this could be like I could actually like pay rent by translating my performance skills into the internet? When does that start happening for you?
So they have a creator program where once you hit 10,000 followers on TikTok, you can get income.
Yeah.
And if they've changed that over the years of how it
This
works.
is ad revenue then?
This isn't ad revenue. This is just views.
Right, but where if they're like, congrats, you're in the program, where does that money come from?
Oh, yeah. Then I guess, yeah, ad revenue.
Is it ads? Okay.
Yes. So, and it was not much. It was not much at all, but it was something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't quite think I could make money based off that. It would take a long time until I had a brand reach out to me eventually. I won't say who, but it was a well-known candy brand.
Okay.
And they were like, we want you to advertise for us. And I was shocked that this would even happen to me. And so I didn't have a manager, I didn't have an agent. I didn't know how any of this worked. So I quoted them and I thought I was going real high. I was like, all right, $150.
Right.
I quoted that. And they were like, yeah, that sounds great. And so I ended up reaching out to a friend I made over TikTok. They're also a creator. He was advertising at the time. And I told him and he was like, no, absolutely
$150 for like 200,000 views. That's like half a cent CPM or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But you're looking at it like, well, I'll just spend 3 hours in my room with my phone, and that's the work. That's okay. That's under 50. Like,
yeah,
that's how you're viewing it.
That's how I view it.
This is a common mistake
because it didn't make sense to me. Because I was like, I have fun doing these videos. This is a 15-second video. You want me to
pay me to have fun?
$150 for a 15-second video? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But no, my friend was like, no, you should be charging at least this much, which was a substantial amount higher.
Because they're paying for the audience that you've built and killed yourself to build for the last year and a half.
Right.
That's what the value is.
Exactly. And he also helped me realize, you are the producer, you're the director, you're the actor, you're the editor, you're doing all of it. Yeah. So I shouldn't have done this, but I went back and I was like, you know what? Actually, and so they were like, that's interesting because you said this right at first, but they ended up meeting me in the middle, which I was still happy with. That's when I first realized, if I get more of this could be like helpful for my income.
Did that first deal end up happening and panning out? Did it go well?
It did. Yeah,
good.
It did. And then after that, I slowly started getting a few more brands reach out to me. Mm-hmm.
How do you decipher between the sketchy, scammy, like, promote our crypto, or like do this or that? Like you get, when you put anything publicly on the internet that has any sort of something, you will get inbound that just seems fishy versus like, a very well-known candy brand. How do I know this is really, is it the agency for the candy brand? Is it like Johnny at Hershey's.com? Like how do you decode that?
Like, how do you know it's like a legit?
How do you know what's legit?
Yeah. So when I started, I would just take the ad. Well, no, when I started, this one I knew because it seemed very legitimate to me. Like I had an actual like company meeting with them.
Okay.
But certain brands started reaching out and I was like, I need to know where they're coming from. And I need to know what does company stand for. So I did start doing that at the beginning because, people could be like, this company supports this. And I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you do have to be careful because you will have people reach out to you that's like, it's not legitimate at all.
And that's one aspect, but then I think a lot about just like companies that are fake or really just sketchy, like weird spam that poses as we want to sponsor you, but it's actually don't click on these links that they're sending you kind of stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. And most of the time, like they would have to send me the product.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yeah, exactly. But, but the nice thing is now with my agent, I have a social media agent, they help legitimize it to know, is this a real company? Do they have an actual contract and all this
Right,
stuff?
right. How did you come into that relationship with an agent, if you don't mind me asking? Did
Oh.
someone reach out to you? Did you seek out representation?
So I started getting a lot of brand work at that point with some pretty decent companies. And I was like, okay, I was very I was very lucky. And so it was so much where I didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah, totally.
So my friend was with an agency and I asked him, how did you get with them? And he just helped set up a meeting. And I've been
Yeah,
with this
that's nice.
company ever since.
That's great.
Mhm.
So some of the ads, which I've been watching recently, sponsored content is like, it's very authentic. It's very well done. It's really funny. And then so many of the comments on those things are like, oh, I didn't even know it was an ad. I didn't even know it was an ad until the end. This was great. Like, it's so hard to walk that line and still please your audience while doing a brand deal. So was that a learning curve for you?
Sure. And inevitably, you're still going to get like people that, will say like, oh, this is just an ad. You suckered me into this. And that's why I always make sure I put hashtag ad, hashtag
Yeah.
sponsored. But my big thing, and I told my agent this, I want to make sure all the companies I advertise with are comfortable with me making it organic within my content.
Right.
I've done it a few times where it was just me and I just didn't feel right about it.
Why else would they want it? Why else would they want to work with you if it wasn't going to be like funny and built in that way? Yeah.
And you're right. Most brands now that reach out are like, we want you to keep your content. Just put this in there somehow.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. But no, it is a fine line to walk because you don't want people to, think you're a sellout or anything like that. But at the end of the day, I'm like, this literally is putting food on my table and it's paying my
work
bills.
And it's entertainment. And just like, people understand. We've had TV commercials on our favorite shows for 1,000 years. This
is just a commercial, but for online. Exactly. Yeah.
So what type of brands? You don't have to say specific, but like, I've seen recently some like photo apps and, other like tech tools, but then also, were you doing stuff with like Target and those types of places?
So recently it's more like, AI apps for teaching or for school. It's a lot of school-related stuff.
School-related stuff.
Yes.
That's interesting.
No, I did do that one translator device, which I thought was very funny. Mainly because I got it. They gave me the translator device. But in the past, when I was doing more stuff than just teacher, I got to advertise for Seinfeld, which was so fun. So I got to.
I didn't see that. What was that?
I did a video where I acted like Elaine, and they wanted me to advertise that the Seinfeld series was coming out, like to buy, or no, it was going to be streaming or something like that.
I'm like, why? Who's advertising for Seinfeld? But is it that that Seinfeld was coming to a certain streaming app, and they wanted people to know they could watch it on Netflix or something?
I think it was. I can't remember if it was that because I feel like then it would have been Netflix. I think it was. You could buy the series or something like that.
Digitally.
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
I don't think that it was coming to apply. This was years ago, so I'm trying to remember.
Okay.
But I used to like Pin 15 the show or Welcome to Flatch or Lifetime Channel. I used to get stuff like that. Now it's kind of more streamlined into like teaching tools and stuff for school and classrooms.
I wonder why entertainment companies, the streaming wars were hot 2 to 3 years ago, and now things have sort of evened out. So I wonder if that's part of it. Do you have any insight into that? Why that landscape has shifted for you?
That could be it. Because there was a while where a lot of content creators were advertising, and some of them still do, for like Hulu and Amazon and, Netflix and stuff like that. I think also I was doing more videos that had different characters involved. And I think they were drawn to that. Whereas now,
hey, you like comedy.
Yeah.
If you're watching Karen's comedy, you're gonna like Seinfeld also, or whatever it is.
Which I was when they reached out, I was like, "Are you serious?" I was blown away.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I was like, I grew up watching.
I got to look that one up.
Yeah.
But this is a while back, a couple of years back.
Yeah, this was probably about 2021, I think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All this is happening for you, but it is still pandemic times, so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's your life like? You're just focused on this
it.
All the time, all day, every day?
Yeah. So before Dad's Garage opened back up, because it was shut down for a few years and everything was online. I was full-time content creation. That's all I did day in, day out. And I was posting probably, if not every day, every other day.
Yeah.
Which was a lot. For me, it is. But then once Dad's Garage started opening back up, I started going back to more live shows. And so now I would say it's kind of like in between, half and half.
So these days, if you made a pie chart of your living, is it brand integrations? Is it live performance? Is it ad revenue from platforms? What does it look like? Teaching?
Definitely a huge majority of the pie would be ad revenue and brand work.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally what is paying our bills.
Have you looked into like Patreon or even like Cameo or something? Like people would subscribe to get customized perks from their favorite from the teacher or their favorite character, right?
Yeah, so I do Cameo actually.
Oh, you do? Okay, great.
I do. I don't advertise it. So here's the thing about me that's again, being in this entertainment world, it's so weird that I have this type personality. I get asked all the time about Patreon, but I feel so like weird asking people to give me money to create. But I also realize it could be a service, like people want to see your stuff. I don't know. I want to do it. I just got to like get that out of my head,
It's very tricky because some people will contribute. Like I like to contribute to Patreon to creators where it's like, I know that their podcast is free and it's available, but I just want them to keep going and not have to worry about ads. So I'm like, yep, I'll throw in a buck. It's like NPR or PBS.
Yes.
But then there's other people who are like, I love this so much that I need to get the behind the scenes bonus episodes, whatever, exclusive perks. I want to get in the Discord. And there's two types of people.
Right.
And what you have to balance if you were to explore that is like, that you're not committing too much. Like, for $5, I'll make all this custom content. And then you're like, oh my God, now I'm doing my regular job plus all this bonus stuff. And it's just way too much, plus Cameo, plus live.
Exactly. And I think that was part of, it's funny because I would 100% donate to other people's Patreon, but me personally, I'm like, I feel bad asking people for money. But I know people would gladly do it. I just have to get over that hump.
And it's about the ask too. It's kind of just like, hey, this tiny bit in aggregate allows art and comedy to keep going, in general.
Right.
And
you're right.
I'd be curious if you get there with that. Thank
you. Yeah. I hope eventually I can like get over that mental aspect of it and eventually do it.
Yeah. You'll find a way. So pivoting a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know how I found this. Maybe I was Googling you or searching other sources, but this way before, 10 years ago, in fact, you were part of one of the most viral and innovative comedy videos of its time, which is the Adult Swim short, Too Many Cooks, which... This came on the scene right when I was a couple years after I got in media, and we were covering social media and virality and YouTube. And one of my colleagues was like, what the fuck is this? And she was watching it, and we were like all watching it in the office, and we're like, what is this? And then it proceeds to become the crazy, dark, weird thing. And we just became obsessed with like, why? What is this promoting? Why does this exist? What is it? Well, everyone's talking about it. So we just we were writing about it and covering it. And for those who don't know, and I'll play a clip of it, Too Many Cooks, it's a theme song, and it's like an 80s, 90s sitcom intro that goes on forever and gets progressively weirder and darker as it proceeds. And it was made by Adult Swim. And it features just random ass extras and actors and characters. And there you are.
It takes a lot to make a stew, especially when it's me and you, and him and Steve from corporate too. Too many cooks, it's true. They say it goes, it'll spoil the broth.
What is that? What happened? How did you get involved?
First of all, that's so funny that you were such a fan of it and you like put some work into it, research. And it's funny that they celebrated the 10-year anniversary the other day, which is
Just this
insane.
month or last month? Literally 10 years.
Like just a few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago.
So, so just to kind of like attach to how it happened, me and one of my really good friends from Dad's Garage, one of our good friends wrote a sketch for us called Think Fast. And it was put on the DGTV YouTube channel, which is Dad's Garage.
Oh, okay.
And one of the guys that works at Adult Swim, Chris Kelly, he ended up seeing it.
Okay.
And he reached out to both of us and was like, hey, I would love for y'all to be in this thing that I'm creating. And he was creating it with other people. But he was like, you just be an extra. It's no big deal. It's very fun. It's literally
Were they filming it in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Or Georgia? Okay.
It was in Atlanta as one of the big warehouse studios or something like that. But he just said, it's just, you'll be an extra for the day. That's it. That's all it is. And when I get there, it was so many different like sets. And then we were the ones in the office set.
They had all the sets for the entire thing set up in one location?
I think so.
Wow.
I think so. Because I remember going there and like walking around because it's one of those studios where there's tons of different like film areas. And
That's
I remember
cool.
seeing the bedroom and I think I saw the kitchen. There's a lot. But I remember being there.
It's like little sitcom vignettes.
Yeah.
Living room, office, bedroom, etc. But it's fascinating to me that they were all in one big plop it down in this warehouse.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure gosh, it was 10 years ago, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what I remember. But I just remember asking him, I was like, so what is this? What are we doing? Because I didn't know. He just said you're an extra for the day. He was like, oh, it's just like we're just doing like a big, long sitcom opening that never ends. That's all he told us. I'm like,
Okay.
oh, that's funny. So we filmed it. And then I didn't know what happened. I knew the machete killer was there, but I didn't focus on that at all because we were just
Were you
focused on our
seeing
scene.
the other actors doing their own scenes
Mm-mm.
throughout the day?
I don't think so. No, I think we just
Okay.
filmed ours because it took a little bit to film that bit.
Okay.
And then I think that was it. But I just remember.
And they just sent you home. You did your bit and they
Yeah.
were like, see you later.
Yeah, I just remember walking out and seeing different sets, but I didn't see anybody film anything else. Yeah. But that was it. And then when we actually saw the video, because they aired it at 4 a.m.
Right. On TV.
Yes, which they probably thought, oh, this is going to be a throwaway. It's no big deal. That's when we finally saw it. And I was like, what were we a part of? Had no idea that there was going to be this machete killer like everywhere. And so still to this day, I cannot believe it took off the way it did. I can't believe it.
Well, okay, I have questions about that too, but then going back to the shooting,
Mm-hmm.
what was the direction? Was it like just go nuts, have fun, do whatever, or did they say specifically come in this door, throw a box on this guy's head? Like what was, your little scene?
Yeah, I think because I know, Casper Kelly, but that's his nickname. But I think they gave us some freedom because they're really good about that of just having fun and playfulness. But they were basically like, this is just like a typical office scene, and I'm the nosy coworker.
Right.
And so I can't remember. I think I played around with the glass on the door, and then it was just kind of a collaboration thing.
Yeah.
Or the glass on the wall of listening. And I think they had the idea, oh, it'd be funny if we put the box over his head and all this stuff. It was just kind of a playful moment of figuring out in that moment.
Mhm.
And Mark Farley, who was also in it, he's also an improviser that I perform with.
Okay.
So I think it was just like a big collaboration process, but they clearly had an idea of what they wanted. Just a
Yeah.
very typical cheesy office sitcom.
And then, so it airs at 4 a.m. and like, was it put on YouTube purposefully, or was it kind of just like, we have this thing, we might as well throw it on the internet? Maybe you don't know, but like, do you remember like, 7 people watched it at 4 a.m., but then later, the next week, the internet got it. You know what I mean?
I think their intention was to put it, I think the 4 a.m. slot is what the slot they had. And so I put it there. And from what I heard, and maybe you know more than this because you researched a lot about it, is that someone posted it on Reddit and it went viral from that. And then
But it's on the official Adult Swim YouTube channel. So I guess I mean like that company.
Yeah.
It wasn't like someone pirated it from TV and it went crazy. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was found elsewhere and then eventually had an official release. It's a long time ago. I don't remember.
I mean, it seems like it would be intentional for them to put it on there for sure. I just remember talking to Casper Kelly about it years ago. Like even they were like, we did not know this was going to take off the way it did.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
It was not. Yeah.
No, not
Has there
at
been
all.
any reunions or panels, or have you been part of any like looking back or getting back together with anyone involved?
So William, who is the one that plays the machete killer, he's pretty big actor in the Atlanta area.
Okay.
But it's funny because I think that next year, Dad's Garage did a big show at the Fox Theater, which is a big like touring theater for like Broadway shows. So we ended up being lucky enough to do a fundraiser show there. And someone wrote a short Too Many Cooks musical. And we had, as a surprise for the audience, the machete killer there.
Oh, great.
William. So he ended up at the end. And it's so funny because half the audience was like, what? Because they hadn't seen it.
It was so popular, but also so narrow in terms of like cultural reach.
Yes.
Right?
So Mark was there. I was there. We were dressed up in our full office gear again. And we were like, oh man, they're going to love this. And we did. Of course, we had a crowd that absolutely loved it. But then there was the other part that was like, I have no idea what's happening.
That's very funny. Yeah. I love that.
So that's, I would say, the biggest reunion that at least I've had. I'm sure other people have met up again.
Yeah. This is great. I'm glad I asked you about it.
Yeah.
Well, I have to let you go, but what's cooking right now? What are you working on? Are you full steam ahead with the current characters and brand partnerships, or are there other big ideas or projects that you're developing for social media or maybe even other channels?
Yeah. As of right now, social media is just still creating content. Nothing super big on the horizon for that at the moment. Just like my typical, I'm hoping to get more consistent on YouTube and creating more long form videos.
How have you had success there?
YouTube, yeah. I've had success in posting my shorts of just reposting.
Shorts are,
Yeah, and I've built a pretty nice size audience from that. So now I'm like, okay, how can I like keep them going with new content on just YouTube?
So when you say longer form, like these would be more fleshed out sketch work?
Yes.
How are you thinking about that? What are you approaching?
Because I want to start creating, this has been a dream of mine, I want to start creating a long form series of just me playing different characters and not necessarily teacher. I did have this whole series written out that I had one of my good friends, Mark Kendall, help me write. That's a teacher series. And we're supposed to film it, and I was going to put that on YouTube and then eventually go into just other long form stuff of characters that has nothing to do with teachers. Because, I want to start like, that's kind of like what my goal is. Yeah.
Because there's something, your current audience loves you and they're so engaged, but there is something about a narrative through line and a storyline that makes people like really, really love and become part of the world that you've created, as opposed to like, oh, that was so relatable. I love that, but I'm not connected to the character in that deep way that long form. And by long form, we're even saying like 2-3 minutes, right? 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think though a lot of times the short ones will go viral, the ones where I get tons of engagement are the ones where it's character based and the story continues. Those are the ones that I really love doing.
Yeah. That gives me hope for the future of internet comedy, because it's like, it's not all just like, that thing. It really, narrative craft is still the key to all of it.
Yeah. People love following a character story. And then as far as I'm helping assistant direct Invasion Christmas Carol at Dad's Garage.
Okay.
It's a longtime staple. We do it every year. It's so much fun, and it opens.
Invasion Christmas Carol. Did I hear that right?
Yes. So we do Christmas Carol. They've been practicing Christmas Carol for 3 weeks now, per normal, the normal script.
Okay.
But what we do at Dad's Garage is we have an improviser come in to the counting house with Scrooge and Cratchit at the beginning of the show, and they crash the entire thing.
Okay,
So, for
I love this.
instance, last night we had, what's that? It's a famous podcaster. Glass? Like,
Ira Glass?
Yes. Well,
Arguably one of the most famous podcasters.
I should know that, being on a podcast right now.
That's fine. No, that's fine.
But this improviser did a name that was similar to it. So it was a spinoff of him. And he came in as Scrooge's best friend, and he was filming a podcast on the murders of like Fan and Belle and all the characters. And so the whole point of this show is to keep Christmas Carol going while gluing in all of these offers. And Scrooge still has to be redeemed at the end. And it is so much fun.
Okay, to clarify,
Yeah.
the actors that are putting on the straight version of Christmas Carol, are they improvisers as well, or are
Yes.
they okay?
They have to be, because the improviser is going to come in and crash it. So they now have to drop their script and pick up their offer, yet still glue in all the important milestones of the story.
Okay, so narratively they have to arrive at the same finish line, but they do not have to say the same exact lines.
Exactly.
I love that. Yeah. At first I was like, why are they even doing the real version in the first place? But it is about having a mold and then breaking it.
Right.
That's really cool.
So, for instance, instead of Marley working at an accountant house or a number house, now he worked at the Clear Channel, which is like, yeah. And so it's so cool because it's all these little details. It's still the same Christmas Carol story, but it's like a new, like, it's just new characters.
And this is a staple of Dad's that people come year after year?
It always sells out. It's so much fun, and highly recommend checking it out.
I wish you were here
I know.
in New York.
I know.
I mean, like, this is weird to say, but like, I don't know where to go for that in New York. Like, I know UCB is here, but I don't perceive UCB as like, this is the big show we do every year and everyone loves it. I perceive it more as like, hey, you take classes and you come see your friend's show and it's not that good. You like, I don't know why that culture that Dad's and your crew has built. I don't know that it's here. It's definitely not in the suburbs where I live.
That's what makes it so special. And that's why the people that have been there have stuck around for so long, is because it's just, we know that it's unique, and we know that it's the collaboration that happens there and the people and the positivity. It's like no other. Yeah. So I'll probably be there for another 10 years at least.
It's really, really special. Yeah. And I love that you're in both worlds now. You're in the social media digital world, but you can't stay away from the live stuff.
No, because that improv helps inspire what I do on screen, on my
of course,
online too.
Makes sense. All right. You can follow Karen you can get her links in the show notes, but where if people want to go directly and follow or check out your work, where's the best place to direct them?
Online or just in real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, anywhere.
TikTok.
What's your address so people can come check you out?
Oh yeah. So my house address? I'm just kidding.
Yes.
TikTok is Karen Cass with 6 S's, and then I have to say that because, like, you'll never find me. Instagram is Karen D Cass, and then YouTube is the same. It's Karen D Cass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
And if you don't want to do all that, Google Cassady, Cassady,
exactly.
Not I, which I have mistyped multiple times in emails to you. So, Karen Cassady, thanks for the laughs, and I hope you keep doing it for 10 years and beyond.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Please stop what you're doing, turn this off, and follow Karen. I will link to all of those social media accounts in the video description, and of course the audio notes of the program, because we all just need more fun and laughter in our news feeds. I just this morning I just had to unsubscribe to some feeds that provide news, not because the news was poorly done or incorrect, but because I just need to not see it. I need to open Reddit and see things about video games and TV shows, and not about what is happening. So, unfollow some stuff and do follow Karen and get those laughs in your feeds. Speaking of following and unfollowing, Twitter is done for me. It is time to move on from that, and so I hope if you were keeping up with conversations there that I was involved in, you can now join me and hang on out on Blue Sky and on Threads, which kind of sucks. I don't know. Blue Sky is very nice because it's real human beings that I know and follow talking, having social conversations on social media, and we're just talking, and it's in chronological order, and I can see what people post, and I can talk to them, and they can talk to me. And then over on Threads, it's like, hey, what about this? And did you see this? And this is recommended for you. And here's Wendy's tweeting about something. I don't follow Wendy's, but here it is. And then you sort it. That's the For You page, which is just random shit. And then you're like, how do I find the people I actually want to see? Well, that's buried 6 menus deep in the thing. And you have to toggle a setting. And then you can finally see the people you actually followed. And guess what? They don't post anything there either. So it's just Threads. Why? Why are we doing Threads? I don't know, but I'm on Threads too. So if you have some fun threads to thread, you could go there. So in the show notes, my Twitter link will hopefully be removed if future me remembers to do any of this shit, and then my Blue Sky and Threads name will be there, and they're the same as they were on the other places. I hope to see you there. I hope to see you in the Discord. I hope that I'm going to share some future guests that are coming up. Lots of really awesome people on the docket. And I will share that on the Patreon and the Discord. So if you have questions or thoughts or fan gushings to have about those future people, you can ask them via Discord or Patreon or the voicemail. 347-871-6548 is where you can call and leave a message for future guests or for me, and we can talk about it on the show. That number is in the show notes as well. And as always, please be kind. Rewind your podcasts after listening to them, and I will talk at you in 1 week's time.